Welcome back to the Cutaway scene where the conversation stays uncut, unfiltered, and honest. Listen, this week we are talking about starting over. And no, I'm not talking about the cute motivational version. No. I'm talking about the kind of starting over that makes you kind of feel it in your chest, all right, deep down. Okay? The kind that forces you to sit with self. The kind that makes you question everything you've already invested time, energy, identity into, okay? Because starting over isn't just about change. It's about loss, okay? I'm talking about loss of what's familiar, loss of comfort, loss of the version of self that knew how to survive where you were, okay? And that's why a lot of people don't move. Let's get into it. So earlier this week, we had asked you guys, be honest. Which one scares people more? Is it being alone or starting over? Now listen, it was very close, real close. We had 50% saying being alone, while the other 50% were saying starting over, okay? Which makes sense because both of these forces you to face self, okay? Being alone means you don't get distraction, okay? No noise, no buffer, no one to blame. Just you, right? But starting over, that means admitting something didn't work. It means letting go of what you already know. It means risking embarrassment, uncertainty, and feeling behind, okay? And a lot of people would rather sit in something familiar, even if it doesn't feel good, than to step into something new where they don't know how it ends. To me, that's not weakness. That's fear doing what fear does best, and that's to keep you still. Let's get into some hot takes. So, for Hot Take Wednesday, we had asked you guys, why does starting over scare people? And this one really opened a lot up, okay? Some of y'all were saying it's pride, okay? Having to admit you stayed way too long. Felt. Others said it's exhausting, okay? Feeling like you don't have the energy to rebuild again. Felt. Someone said starting over feels like erasing progress. Another said it felt like failing in front of a whole audience. Okay? Felt. And honestly, all of that makes sense, okay? So someone sent in saying, you never know who you're going to get. And it's stressful telling your life all over. My hot take on that is that I feel that because there's way too many people out here campaigning, okay? Campaign mode. They go through campaign mode where they put their best foot forward, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. Putting your best foot forward is always recommended, okay? Do that. But some of these, that's not the problem that I'm talking about. It's when that step wasn't really you. Then I have to tell my story all over again. Like, oh, please give me a break. But thank you for sending that in. People really do not realize starting over does get stressful, okay? Especially if the person you trusted before, I'm talking about one that you thought they were the one, okay? Next one. So someone also said, the brain keeps us safe by keeping us in familiar situations. Unknown scares people, okay? My hot take on that is that, yes, I do agree with that, okay? It does feel like a safe zone. The unknown does sound crazy because who's really trying to walk into something that is unfavorable? Who wants to repeat a cycle that has already been closed, okay? We are only getting older, all right? Life is way too short. I already said that, all right? I'm only looking for facts. Show me the facts. Show me the hard facts. Show me the facts because the crowd need answers. All right? Listen, thank you for sending that in, okay? The unknown is another reason why some people are scared of starting over, okay? Sometimes I do think to myself, like, what if you didn't know what was going to happen next? I'm talking about you get your luxury life, okay? Whatever your heart desires. Would you still work hard to get that? See, starting over isn't a decision, it's confrontation, right? It forces you to face the parts of your life that felt good enough, okay, but never felt right. And sometimes fear doesn't look like panic. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like waiting. Sometimes it looks like saying, I'll deal with it later. And later keeps getting further away. Let's get into some hypotheticals. So scenario 1, you're not miserable where you are. You're functioning, you're stable, you're fine. But deep down, you know you've outgrown it. Starting over would mean learning again, adjusting again, hey, being uncomfortable again, okay? So to stay, not because it's right, okay? But because you already know how to survive here, okay? So the question becomes, are you choosing peace or are you choosing what's familiar, okay? Now, my hot take on that is that I think life is meant to bring you through changes, okay? We are supposed to grow, yes, okay? Someone once told me to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, okay? Growing pains aren't just, well, I don't want to just say aren't just, but growing pains aren't rainbows and butterflies, okay? You are meant to live life to the fullest, okay? Last thing you really want is to wait to the very last minute, very, very last second to wish you would have done it or wish you had more time to do it, okay? Think big, but do it better, okay? Scenario number 2. Now, you've thought about starting over more than once, okay? You've imagined it, you talked yourself into it and out of it, because starting over would change how people see you. It would raise questions. It would make things awkward, okay? So instead, you stay where you are, all right? Quietly uncomfortable, but you're still consistent, right? And now you have to ask yourself, is staying really safer or is it just easier? Now, my hot take on that is that, honestly, I feel like people are going to love and hate you regardless, okay? Just do it. Half of the time, people don't even remember things that you think they remember. I'm talking about the whole scenario that happened in 3rd grade. I don't know. People ain't going to really remember that. And I wouldn't even say people won't remember it. A lot of people just don't care, okay? And even if they did, so what? What they going to do about it? Hurt you? Because at the end of the day, you gotta care for it to hurt, okay? And I be feeling like there's some people out here holding back on expressing themselves or even acting out on their dreams because they are afraid of what people think, okay? Don't pay attention to how many likes or how many shares your dreams get. Imagine that you are seeking validation for your dreams. You want likes and shares of your dreams. People scroll and people see it regardless, okay? That's all that matters. Playing it safe is like you're existing, not living, all right? When you stop living for others, that is when your life truly begins, okay? Real talk, I have learned that starting over isn't about courage as much as it is honesty, okay? It's about being honest with self, about what's no longer working, okay? About what you're not, I would say more what you're tolerating, okay? About what you're, about you, let's just say, about what you've normalized just to avoid disruption. There we go. Sometimes the hardest part isn't letting go of people or situations. It's letting go of the version of you that knew how to exist there. Okay? Starting over asks you to become someone new. Okay? And not everyone is ready for that. Keep that in mind. Okay? But staying somewhere that no longer fits comes with a cost too. Okay? It costs time, growth, alignment, and eventually it costs peace. So yeah, that is this week's conversation. Okay? Starting over isn't easy. No. Being alone isn't either. Okay? But avoiding both doesn't protect you. Okay, it just delays the truth, all right? But anyways, thank you for being honest, okay? Thank you for the honesty, the vulnerability, okay? The real conversations this week, okay? Follow the Cutaway Scene on the Instagram platform. Why did I even say platform? Follow the Cutaway Scene on Instagram and subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss what's next. Because next week we are talking about what happens when comfort finally stops working. Anyways, that's a wrap, and it's the Cutaway Scene. Bye.